Ace Podcast.
You are listening to the Crazy Town Podcast, Season 1, Episode 10, with special guest host TNT Dynamite. Today on the show, we'll be discussing only one story. It's in regards to an experiment in the 60s where they tried to teach dolphins how to speak English. And trust me on this, it goes about 5 levels of crazy, so it's perfect for the show. So that'll be it today on the Crazy Town Podcast.
Take 3!
Hello, and welcome back once again to another edition of the Crazy Town Podcast. This is episode number 10. We have finally hit 10 episodes. I can't fucking believe it, but thank you so much for listening. I do have a special guest host again. I guess at this point he's not so special. This is his 4th time on the show, Mr. TNT Dynamite. Why don't you say hello and what's up to everybody?
Hello, this is TNT Dynamite, the explosive one. Welcome to the show.
So glad to have you back again, dude, as always. Is there anything you want to shout out? Previously, you told us you were starting a YouTube channel and things like that. Is that ready to go now?
Yeah, well, by the time this video releases, the YouTube channel will be up. I appreciate if you listen to it. TNT Dynamite, YouTube.com. Also, I got my Twitter out, TNT Dynamite, TNT Dynamite at Twitter. TNT Dynamite, all words, TNT DINOMIGHT. Look me up.
That was a little jumbly there, huh?
Yeah, man, I'm drunk.
All right, well, good to go. All right. Well, everybody, we have a great show planned for you today. But before I get started, I do want to give a shout out to the Ace Podcast Network. You can find them over at acepodcastnetwork.com. They're a couple of cool guys. Gave me a chance as a brand new show accepted me into their network. They're very cool, hardworking people. If you have a podcast and you need a network with no red tape bullshit, go on over to acepodcastnetwork.com. Tell them that Jonas from the Crazy Town sent you so they know that I'm spreading the word. So if you are following us on Twitter, it's at the Crazy Town Pod. Hit up our website, thecrazytown.com. It has all the ways to listen and follow the show, and we will be right back and get started on the Crazy Town Podcast.
Where am I?
Hey, this is Jeff Mack.
And Cade.
And we are from the Super Peepee Time Podcast, and you are listening to the Crazy Town Podcast.
That's right, and smile at a waterfall. I would appreciate that.
All right, and welcome back to the Crazy Town Podcast with TNT Dynamite here today again. What's up, dude?
What's going on, Jonas?
Would you ever think to do a scientific experiment to try to teach dolphins English?
I've never been asked this question before, but I guess the thought has crossed my mind.
You've thought about if dolphins could speak English
Absolutely
before?
Not. Absolutely not.
All right. Well, in 1964, there actually was a scientist who thought this would be a good idea. And oh boy, was it wrong. The levels of wrong keep stacking up on this bitch into definitely different levels of crazy.
I don't really know how you could go wrong trying to teach it. It seems so harmless.
I know, right? Doesn't it? It sounds harmless, right? So, okay, let me give you let me kind of go little by little. We'll kind of discuss as we go. So in 1964, there was an experiment on the Caribbean island of St. Thomas to try to teach dolphins human English. So the scientist's his name was John Lilly, and he had a wife named Marianne. They had a little laboratory, and it had a dolphin sanctuary. There was 1 male and 2 female dolphins. So, I mean, sounds pretty fucking normal, right?
Yes. It sounds adorable so far.
Right. So there was a woman, her name was Margaret Lovat, who is still alive, by the way. I think she's like 97 years old. She was living on the island as a young woman, and she heard about this lab. So, as what any normal woman would do, she just walks to the lab and knocks on the door and asks them if she can help interact with the dolphins.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
That's what any normal person would do, with no scientific background or anything. So the scientist says, yeah, come on in. Let's see how you do with the dolphins, because that's normal.
Yeah,
that right there shows you how fucked up the 60s were. So, could you...
Dolphins are adorable. You have to understand that.
Can you imagine, today, tomorrow, you drive to fucking SeaWorld and just go knock on the gate and be like, hey, can I help you guys out with the whales?
I'm sure that has happened at SeaWorld before. but yeah, I mean, dolphins are adorable. They're one of the cutest creatures on the planet. If I knew somebody down the street had dolphins in the swimming pool, I'd be like, hey, dude, can I come over and pet your dolphins? So far, I'm on board.
So one thing we've learned today is that you love dolphins and you think they're adorable. So I like where this is going. All right.
Love dolphins?
Yeah. Tuna companies.
Oh my God.
So, all right. So this lady, she goes there. She's like, hey, and the guy's like, oh yeah, you can hang out with the dolphins. And for some reason, he thinks she does a good job. So he's like, hey, you can help us try to teach these dolphins English. So she goes there and helps these scientists with their training, right?
Yeah.
All right. So she decides after a couple months or a couple weeks, I'm not sure which, that her leaving every day at the end of the day, this pedestrian woman, is inhibiting the training and making the dolphins not able to learn English quick enough. So
okay, it's starting to get strange now.
Oh
okay.
yeah, here's where the shit starts getting nuts. So she convinces the scientist to plaster off the bottom 3 foot of the walls and all the floors of this laboratory. So instead of there just being like a dolphin pool, they fill the whole lab up with water, and the dolphins can swim around in the lab. Okay. It keeps going.
Okay.
So then she's like, oh, that's cool. We can hang out with the dolphins all day. She decides she's going to start living there 24 hours a day with the dolphins to help them learn English.
Oh. Okay. That's a little odd.
So what do you think she may want to do this? Like what?
Okay, now when you say, I feel like there may be some confusion here, because I mean, I'm honestly a little confused. When you say she plastered off the lab, what do you mean? Like she turned the lab into an aquarium?
Essentially, with like a few feet of water in the bottom of it, so the dolphins could not only be in the dolphin sanctuary pool, but come into the lab with her while she was working.
Oh.
So they could essentially be together 24 hours a day. Wow.
That is some deep love for those animals. I'm not really sure I would do that myself.
Well, right. So she decided to sleep on a platform in the room. She worked on a desk that was suspended from the ceiling with cables, so she could still work at a desk with all this water everywhere. So, and you know what? I'm going to break it to you honest. This is the most normal part of this story.
If you say she was having sex with the dolphins, dude, I'm done. I'm turning my mic off right now.
So let me rehash for anyone who may be not grasping this whole concept. A pedestrian woman goes to a scientific office that has a dolphin sanctuary, convinces the scientist to let her help him teach English to these dolphins, then decides to live there 24 hours a day because leaving them is inhibiting the training, and then she sleeps on a platform, works on a desk, fucking suspended from the ceiling because she convinces the scientist to plaster the walls and fill the lab up with water. And that's the most normal part of the story.
Oh, so it gets worse.
About 4 levels worse.
Okay.
We're just broaching the top of the...
Well, I'm invested now, so please continue.
Right. So, all right. So, here's where the first weird twist comes in the way.
Oh, because it wasn't weird up to this point.
Right.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned before, there was 1 male dolphin and 2 female dolphins. The woman had taken a liking to the male dolphin named Peter because he now don't start judging Margaret yet. You don't know what Margaret did.
Yeah, I don't.
And now she had a very simple reason why she wanted to work with Peter. Peter had never had any English training before. The other 2 had. So she wanted a virgin, so to speak.
Fuck, are you... He never had any English training before.
So she didn't want the other 2 females who had been tainted by others' English teaching to get in her way of teaching this dolphin English.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, exactly. So
perfect sense.
So basically, she's fucking working with this male dolphin named Peter.
Yeah, blank canvas. We'll refer to him as the blank canvas.
The blank canvas and Margaret were doing their English lessons all over the office 24 hours a day. And then Margaret decided she felt that like Peter's sexual urges were getting in the way of the training to learn English.
Didn't I tell you?
Don't judge Margaret. Don't judge her. Listen. So she started letting Peter out into the dolphin tank with the other dolphins to get his fuck on. Because he wanted to fuck, right? He's a dolphin. They say dolphins are the only other species of mammal that fuck for pleasure, other than humans.
I was going to bring this up, too,
right,
man. It's like the only like, piece of information I know about dolphins. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm about to drop a fucking bombshell on you about dolphins here in a minute. You wait. There's something I don't know about. I learned about dolphins. Blows my fucking mind. Anyways, so she did this, and that helped for a while. So she was doing this, letting him go out and get his fucking bang on with these other dolphins or whatever. So then, Margaret has a lot of opinions. Margaret decides that letting him out into the female tank is just inhibiting learning English too much. Oh my gosh.
She has all the answers, apparently.
Right. You know, she's a scientist and all. Oh, wait, a pedestrian who lives on the island. Yeah. So here's what happens. She starts manually releasing the fucking dolphin. Her words.
Oh, God.
She wasn't fucking it. The dolphin didn't, like, get all up in her. But I have 2 quotes from Margaret. This is an article that interviewed Margaret about this. She said, and I quote, "I wasn't uncomfortable with it, as long as it wasn't rough. It wouldn't just become part of what was going on. It would just become part of what was going on, like an itch, just to get rid of it, scratch it, and move on. And that's how it seemed to work out. It wasn't private. People could observe it." That's the first quote. So why don't we break this down a little bit? So she would jerk this dolphin off and let people watch. That's as fucking plain as I could get it.
God.
Okay.
In some countries, they pay good money for that.
Yeah,
so.
no shit, right? So, okay. Yeah. So then, the second quote, she says,
there's more.
"It wasn't sexual on my part. Sensuous, perhaps. It seemed to me that it made the bond closer. Not because of the sexual activity, but because of the lack of having to keep breaking. And that's really all it was. It was there to get to know Peter. And that was a part of Peter."
No pun intended.
Right.
Obviously.
So again, it made them closer, not because she was getting the dolphin off, but because they didn't have to take breaks. This bitch is really fucking held up on taking breaks from teaching English.
Now, like, I don't even know how to approach this because I'm so against jerking off animals as it is. I know.
What normal fucking person isn't against that?
I know, man. Apparently, we're the crazy ones here. But okay, let me ask you one question.
Oh, ask me anything you want, man.
Let me ask you one question. Did the dolphins learn English?
Well, I can't. That's gonna ruin the surprise, bro. I can't get down there yet. There's 2 more levels of weird to go through.
Because honestly, if jerking this dolphin off leaded to this dolphin giving dissertations at Harvard, then I'm on board. I will jerk a dolphin off if I can have the first talking dolphin.
Well, it wouldn't be the first one; it'd be the second one.
Oh, true story. True story.
Oh shit! So, all right. So she felt that breaking so he could go fuck female dolphins wasn't good enough. She had to do the deed herself. And so then she goes on to say, I guess there's one more quote I have here. That relationship of having to be together sort of turned into really enjoying being together and wanting to be together and missing him when he wasn't there. She reflects, I did have a very close encounter with, I can't even say dolphin again, with Peter. And that's a fucking quote.
Oh my god.
So this is weird. So
yeah.
I mean, this is true. You talk about Crazy Town podcast. This is the definition of the Crazy Town right here. Like, this bitch is in the Crazy Town. So it's so crazy. Hustler magazine did an article about this. Yes, the porn magazine with Larry Flint did an article about this story in the 60s. You can fucking look it up. Like, you can Google any of this. This is all legit as fuck, unfortunately. So then it gets even crazier. But what we're going to do...
It gets worse?
It does get worse.
Oh my god!
It gets worse in a different way. There's no more bestiality, okay? That's done.
Oh, thank God, because I don't know how much more of that I can take.
But... hang on. We'll be right back on the Crazy Town podcast and continue the love of a dolphin saga.
Hi, this is Adam from Misguided Consultation. You are listening to the incredible, the fantastic, the Crazy Town podcast on the ACE Podcast Network.
All right, and we are back again on the Crazy Town podcast. We're going to get back into this dolphin lover story, Dynamite. What do you think about that?
Oh, I can barely wait.
I know the suspense is killing you. I didn't tell you about this
I like how
before.
you gave it the name Dolphin Lover. It reminds me of the South Park episode.
Fucking, there was a dolphin lover episode?
No, there was the chicken. The chicken.
Oh, chicken lover.
Episode.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Well, all right. So where we left off is that Hustler magazine did an article about the dolphin lover after she decided that manually releasing him helped their English training.
Oh god.
So as this is going on, the scientist John Lilly starts experimenting with LSD.
Well, that was pretty common in the 60s.
Well, right,
okay.
right. I mean, it is the fucking 60s. So, but I guess this article, it said he was one of the few scientists to be commissioned by the government to test LSD for its potential to have any sort of medicinal use. So now that's a whole nother fucking show segment that on its own, like about the government testing for medicinal uses. Which I knew they did. I just haven't researched it enough to speak about it. So let's save that for another episode of the show. So here's where another twist comes in. Like, the LSD wasn't the real twist. So the scientist dude starts giving the other two dolphins LSD. I hear silence.
Oh,
you have nothing.
I mean, dude. How do you give a dolphin LSD? Do you
I guess you put it in its mouth, dude. That's how a human takes it, right?
Okay, so what does a dolphin do on LSD?
Right. Well, let me tell you, only the two female dolphins got LSD. Can you guess why the third dolphin that named Peter didn't get LSD? Wild guess.
Were they Bill Cosbying the other two dolphins?
No, they weren't giving them pudding pops, dude. They fucking no.
I mean, were they drugging them so that the other dolphin could have his way with them?
No. Margaret wouldn't allow it. Margaret wouldn't allow Peter to have LSD.
That was her, man.
So basically,
but no, I don't know.
Lucky for that's why Margaret wouldn't allow it. She wouldn't let John Lilly give this Peter dolphin LSD. She didn't want it to inhibit learning English. It all comes back to this inhibiting learning English.
Yeah.
So, but guess what happens when you give a dolphin LSD?
I would imagine that it dies.
Nope. Nothing happens. It has no effect on a dolphin.
Really?
Yeah. So she said in the article, Margaret said that once Lily started giving the other when he started taking LSD, he became less interested in the dolphins in general, and he was upset because the LSD didn't have any effects on the dolphins. Because, like different chemical compounds have different, like dog pain medicine may not work on a human or a cat or whatever,
Yeah.
So LSD, nothing for a dolphin. So that's really anticlimactic, but I had to throw it in there because I thought it was fucking interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So then it goes on to say that this John Lilly scientist guy turns into a full-blown hippie.
Imagine that. You start giving them endless supplies of LSD and dolphins.
Right, he turns into a hippie. It says it was a 6-month experiment to fucking learn English. I guess it failed. It didn't really say that they could talk. Obviously, dolphins don't speak English, so my guess is it was a failure. So it says it's just about the time the 6-month experiment was over, the sex sessions or whatever you want to call them.
Sex sessions.
The program lost its funding completely because the scientist was so hippied up and he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So you would think, I mean, how many levels is this deep weird? Two levels deep?
It was pretty weird after she started jerking off the dolphins.
So then he starts giving him LSD. That's level 2. Here comes level 3.
Oh my God. What is the story, dude?
So then it gets even weirder. I know it's hard to believe this could get any weirder.
It gets worse. Okay.
So they desanction the lab. They send these dolphins, like Margaret goes on to her, whatever she goes to do, like live her life, non-dolphin lady. They send the dolphins to Miami, to a different lab that John Lilly owns. So
okay,
the scientist calls Margaret a couple weeks later, after she leaves, and he tells her the dolphin has now committed suicide.
Shut the fuck up.
No.
Peter?
Yes,
Peter.
Peter killed himself. Here's the legit piece of, like, knowledge that I learned from this article. Dolphins do not breathe autonomously. They have to think about every single breath they take.
What?
So you can't put a dolphin under anesthesia because it will die. It stops breathing. That didn't happen in this case. So here's the legit part about this. She said that Peter, like, basically he took a breath, then stopped breathing on his own accord, sunk to the bottom of the tank, and never started breathing again until he died.
Shut the fuck up.
Fucking brain bender, right? Brain bender.
That's crazy.
Right. So. That's the 3rd level deep. You want to go one more level deep on this fucking story?
I can't, look, man. It's early. It's early.
It's not early. It's mid-afternoon, dude. Okay. One last thing.
Give it to me.
Here's the
give
last.
Give it to me.
Okay. It's like, this story reminds me of like a Pandora's box, dude. It's like you open it and it's just like levels of like deceit and awfulness.
It's layered like an onion.
Then the Margaret lady, she ends up marrying the photographer from this experiment. So she marries the guy who took photos of her and the dolphin together.
Was he a dolphin?
Yes, he was a walking, talking dolphin. So that's just a little bit creepy, right?
Yeah.
And then, so she married someone related to the experiment. They had 3 daughters. Pretty normal there.
Dolphins.
You want to take a random guess to where they lived?
I don't know. Under the sea, apparently, because she had such an affinity.
No. She bought the lab, and they lived in the lab that she fucked the dolphin in.
That was my next guess.
Her whole family. So here's what she said about the home. Here's another quote. There was a good feeling in that building all the time.
Huh.
Yeah, the memory of you banging a fucking dolphin. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
So, I'm telling everybody, all the listeners, this is 100%, as far as I could tell, a legit, real news story. I didn't make this up. You can Google it.
Nuts.
Google, like, St. Thomas. What's the lady's name? Her name is Margaret Lovat. Lovatt. The scientist's name is John Lilly, Lilly. And read about this. Like, Hustler legitimately wrote an article about this back in the 60s. So I figured this was just weird enough to discuss on the Crazy Town podcast. I'm so glad TNT Dynamite was with me to go through this on this special edition episode of.
I have so many unanswered questions.
Like what? I'll help you answer them right now. Let's go.
Okay, like I don't know. Let's go back from the end here. How the hell did this dude? He knew she was jerking his dolphin off, and yet he still married her, right?
Well, I mean, dolphin fuckers need love too, I guess.
And then he was just cool with her moving back into the fucking dolphin sex den that she had been in for all this time.
Yes.
With their children.
Yes, yeah. So she raised her kids in the dolphin sex den. I mean, they converted it into a house. They didn't it wasn't like full of water like well, let me take that back. I don't know for sure, but I would imagine they turned it into a home rather than like swam around and like pretended to be dolphins all day.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, let's go back a little bit. The other two female dolphins were obviously just not enough for this male dolphin after she left.
Right, yeah. I mean, it sounds like he got real sad and like he fucking stopped breathing on purpose and sunk and died.
Fucking crazy, man.
I know, right?
It's sick though at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's super disgusting. Like,
where the fuck did you get this information, John?
I don't know, dude. I found it on the internet somewhere. Like it's a bottomless pit of disgusting on the internet. You know that. That's it. I mean, I told you it had like 4 layers of fucking weird, and it keeps going in a different way. It's like 4 totally different. It's like you teach dolphins English, that's weird. You're fucking a dolphin, that's weird. You're giving dolphins LSD, that's weird. And then you move back in and raise your family in the dolphin house, and the dolphin killed himself. That's 5 levels of fucking weird in so many different ways.
Yeah, they got pretty weird.
So why don't you guys reach out to me at the Crazy Town Podcast. Any of the ways you can reach us. Let me know what you think of this dolphin story. Do a little of your own research. Hit me up. We'll be right back on the Crazy Town Podcast. Everybody, it's that time again. That is all the time that we have for today's show. Although it was a weird one about one topic, I feel that it was totally Crazy Town. What about you, Dynamite?
Very, very weird. I'm emotionally scarred.
Well, that's what we hope. Every time you come in a normal person, you leave wishing you had never listened to us. So we do want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen. In all seriousness, it's freaking awesome that you guys even check us out at all. Please give us feedback. Tell me what you hate about the show. Give us a review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter. Share us. Like us. Do any of that shit. TNT Dynamite, you want to go ahead and pimp your stuff again before we get out of here today?
Yeah, TNT Dynamite. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. That's at TNT Dynamite. TNT DINOMIGHT. All one word.
Fits pretty well. It was almost there. Yeah, we'd be happy.
Close.
Go check out my boy here. He's a good dude, hilarious guy. I love having him on the show. For our stuff, website, of course, thecrazytown.com. Twitter is at thecrazytownpod. Review us on iTunes. Hit us up on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/thecrazytownpodcast. And for TNT Dynamite and Jonas, we are